This summer of 2022, I will be embarking on a hike for over 8 days and 40 miles. It will be an elevation gain of 12,000 feet to reach the highest point in Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro, sitting at 19,000 feet. You may ask yourself, why would I ever want to do that? And why would I be willingly sign up for such a thing? If you were to know me 5 years ago, I would ask myself the exact same question. It's a huge mountain. Why? Why would I ever want to do that? But do you remember the last big mountain you've climbed? Let's talk about that, shall we? If you can think of mountains like your goals. First of all, I want to thank you all for joining the session. I am excited to be here, part of the Toastmasters District 3, the Arizona district, and be part of the 2022 conference, which is entitled Rise Up, Celebrate Your Summit. I have to admit that I did sign up for hiking Mount Kilimanjaro before the theme of this conference came out. But I am happy to know that there is a very fitting coincidence here. And I feel privileged to be able to join you in this session. And today I would like to talk to you about a subject that is dear to me. And that is how to discover your next mountaintop. I have to preface here that I'm going to go back and forth between mountain, goal, dream, all of these. I'm going to use them interchangeably. So I'm talking about whatever your desires, your goals are next. I'm not really talking about hiking, even though I would love to, but maybe a different topic. But I would want to talk to you about your past, but most importantly, your future accomplishment. So I want to start off by asking you, if you remember the last big goal that you've achieved, something that you feel proud of, something that makes you go, yep, I did that, that was me. Can you think of one? Because when it comes to our goals, I believe there's two types of people here. Ones that achieve something and they don't dwell too much on their celebration. They just move on to the next one. And they move on to the next one. And they don't really take the time to think about what happened. Is that you? Because if you are, I do want you to stop for a second and really take a look back on all that you have achieved. Really take a moment and pause and allow yourself to be proud of what you have done. I want you to tell yourself, good job me, I did that. Because it is important for us to focus on the future, but we have to take a pause and really celebrate our wins. Now, the other set of people are the ones who, once they conquer their mountain, a certain mountain, they stop there and they don't move on to any of their next goals, their next mountains. Either because they are too busy or they don't even know what exactly their next goal is. I can tell you about one of my big accomplishments was 5 years after coming into the United States. I came here in 2005 with $200 in my pocket and a lot of dreams. And for 5 years, I pushed myself hard to make sure that those dreams come true, which most of them did. I got a dream job at that moment, which is to work at a large corporate company with good, steady income and a decent 401k. This was a big dream for me, and I achieved it. And it allowed me to move on to the next goal, which was to own my very own home. And in 2010, that's exactly what I did. It was a great year for me. Now, what happened after that is that I fell into the trap that the second type of people do when it comes to thinking that we've made it. And I told myself, this is it. I'm good. I don't need anything else. I'm just going to camp right here. I got all I need, I was telling myself back then. But there's a difference between what we need and what we want. There's a difference between what you need and what you want. So, has this happened to you where you're getting to a point in your life where you're constantly hustling and struggling and working hard, you're climbing that tall mountain, you persevere, you overcome, and you make it. And then you decide that you've worked hard enough, and then that you have to take some time to relax. So you start getting comfortable, but somehow the day-to-day activities just fill in your time where you feel like you're not able to do anything else other than just be busy. And the more you look for that mountaintop, the more you realize that you don't have time for that. This was exactly what happened to me after that 2010. I ended up getting comfortable and riding the waves of my past accomplishment, thinking there's nothing else I need, I'm good. However, I didn't realize it at that time, but subconsciously, I did wanted something more. I did want to climb my next mountaintop. I just didn't know it at that time. However, inside of me, there was a storm brewing. On the outside, things seemed great. I had my home, I had my friends, my job, I was going on vacation, partying. I was constantly busy, no time for anything. However, on the inside, I started feeling more and more uneasy, restless. I started feeling dissatisfied and ended up dreading my days. I turned into that guy who was saying, thank God it's Friday. Oh no, it's Monday. I never wanted to be that guy. I did not understand at that point why I was so unhappy, so uneasy with my life. Have you felt that way? Where you feel like you lack direction in your life. You feel like your days just evaporate. Do you feel like that right now? Do you feel like life just goes by? For me, I can tell you that it took me 5 years to realize a simple truth, which is that we are either intentionally progressing or we are unintentionally regressing. We are either growing or we are dying. We are either climbing our next mountain or we are sliding into the valley of despair. And I love this quote from Nelson Mandela, who said that the only thing that you see when you reach the top of a hill is that there is another hill. There's always going to be a next goal. And unfortunately for me, it took me a long time to even realize that there's got to be another hill. There's got to be new goals that I want for myself. Do you know what your next hill is? Because we as human beings, we are hardwired to constantly want more. Don't you? And even if you say that you don't, I am certain, because I've been there, that subconsciously you desire something better for yourself. And that can be something for your career, it may be in your relationships, it may be in your health, or something that you are passionate about. It is in our human nature to want something more. Can you think of something that you want? I can tell you, back then, I knew kind of sort of that I wanted something more, but I had no clue what. And that was the biggest struggle, because I wasn't even aware of it. And I can tell you that it has been quite the journey. From that low point of my life where I didn't know where I wanted to go, I had no direction, as well as didn't understand what would be my next goal, what would be my next mountaintop. And I'm not sure if you feel like that right now. What I can tell you is that there's good news, because it doesn't matter who you are today and what you are doing. It only matters who you want to become and what you want to achieve. And you may ask the same question that I asked myself back then. I don't know what I want. What is it that I want for my future? What is it that I want to become? What is my next mountain? I can tell you that I've been fortunate enough to be on this self-discovery and personal growth for the last 5 years, and I've learned a few things that have really helped me get out of that valley of disappointment and really find the new mountain that I want to climb. I recognize my new ambitions and my aspirations that truly have helped me live a fuller life, more joyful. And this also includes the joy of hiking Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, before we get started, I want to ask you something. How open-minded are you? How willing are you to receive and try new ideas? Because what has helped me discover, grow, and conquer my next mountaintop was what I now identify as the 4 principles, or I call them the 4 Ps, which truly helped me transform my life in such a way that today I feel more driven. I feel full of joy and excitement about the journey that I'm on. And I can tell you that there's many things I want to do with my life now. Are you open to new ideas? I want to share with you these 4 principles. I call them the 4 pillars. And they are, number 1, perception. And what I mean by that, it's our self-awareness. Number 2, planning, which is self-explanatory. Number 3 is progress or growth. And the 4th pillar that it is necessary on this journey is our perspective, or our attitude, our mindset. Now let's get into each one of them. You see, what I've learned is that most people have uphill aspirations. They know what they want, or they have an idea of what they want, but most of us have downhill persuasions. We are constantly bombarded with distractions from everywhere. Social media, internet, Netflix, movies, Netflix. We're constantly bombarded from all these directions where it keeps us in a sedated mode where we don't even know ourselves and we have no clue what we want. We rely so much on these external factors to dictate who we should be and what we should want that we don't take a pause and really look inwards to answer the question, what is it that I want from my life? What is the next mountain? Having that clarity can only happen if you allow yourself to have that self-discovery time. We need to make room to gain that perception. And the definition of the word perception is our abilities to see, hear, or become aware of something throughout our senses, our inner senses. You will only be able to get clear on what you want to be your next mountain if you start not from the outside, but rather from the inside. The better you are at honing in your perception and understand more your deepest desires, the more you know yourself and these desires, the better you will be, the desires, they will be able to show themselves. Being more in tune with who we are, I believe it's a superpower. For years, I can tell you that I've looked outside. I talked to people to tell me what I should be doing with my life, what should be my passion, what I should be interested, not realizing that nobody can tell me. I am the only one who is an expert at my life. And so are you, which means that the only one who can really define what you want to do with your life is yourself. There are coaches and mentors who can guide you and assist you and open some doors for you, but developing that introspection is vital to answer the question, what is it that you want with your life? Figuring out what it is your next mountain. This way, you will define a clear goal if you figure out what you want, and a direction in your life. And when you do so, you're going to get excited about living. And you're going to feel more alive because you have something to look forward to when you're able to discover those things that you are. And I spent so much time doing the self-reflection, honing in my perception, and the clearer I was, the clearer my path became. Today, I can tell you that I know what I want. I want to inspire and motivate people to change their lives just like I did. I want to help people get out of the valley of dread, just like I did. I want them to identify their own summits, just like I did, and become excited about the journey that they're on, just like I am. And it all has to start with this first pillar, perception, self-reflection. Becoming self-aware of our thoughts, our desires, and our values is crucial. So I ask you, do you know what you want? And you may ask yourself, well, that's cool, but how? How would I go about discovering what I want? What should I be doing? And for me, I've learned a few tools that have really helped me gain this clarity on what are the things that I want. And the tools that I've used are meditation, exploring and experimenting different things, as well as learning, reading. All of these tools have really helped me broaden my horizon and understand myself better. And this way, I would be able to know what exactly I want. Now, when it comes to meditation, I won't harp on it too much. I just can tell you that there is enough scientific proof out there to tell you how incredibly beneficial this is. I can tell you that for me personally, meditation has been an absolute game changer. It takes no effort. You're just sitting there and breathing, being aware of your thoughts. And the benefits are outstanding. This is one of the main ways I've learned how and what I want to do with my goals. Meditations has really honed in to get rid of that mist that I had and really see the mountain that I had in front of me. It is just a matter of how open-minded are you? With the help of meditation, I was truly able to do that inner work and bring out the things that I really want for myself. The second tool that I was able to do while observing my thoughts and doing this inner figuring out my perception, honing in this perception, was to observe things that were painful for me, things that were a struggle that I wanted to overcome. And in this category, my ability to speak in front of people was one of them. It was a major pain point. I can tell you that 5 years ago, I was absolutely petrified to introduce myself in front of 5 people. Can you imagine me not being able to say, hello, my name is Serban, and I am here to help you with your PCB layout. I'm an engineer. It was incredible. I couldn't do that. Now, in this effort of figuring out what I want, I've looked at this pain point that I had, and then I've done some more reflection on learning and exploring, and I realized that I really like to connect with other people. I really like to understand people's behaviors. And once I looked at all these things that I wanted, I recognized that even though I want to connect with people, there's a disconnect because I cannot even speak in front of 5 people. So I end up making a connection that I want to increase my communication skills. And what that did for me is that by facing my pain, I've learned, and learning how to speak in front of the audience, that pain, to my surprise, turned into a passion. I am passionate about speaking. But I couldn't have done so if I didn't have this proper tool and this proper perspective. This inner work for us to figure out our next mountain is vital. It is necessary. So now you might know what you want for yourself. You discovered, you've honed in this perception. And some of you may already know what you want, but you're not sure how to get there. And you may ask yourself, what next? The second pillar in this process is called planning. It's not a brain, it's not very complicated, but it is vital. I heard Jordan Peterson on a podcast recently where he said that if you don't have a plan for your future, that means that you are doing someone else's plan. You're doing someone else's plan. To me, that means that if you are not strategic in going after your goals, after the things that you know you want, then you're kind of just wandering through life. Did you know that 80% of people quit their New Year resolution in the first 3 months of the year? Why is that? You might have your ideas, but I can tell you that I don't believe it's because they don't want it. I don't believe it's because they are lacking the discipline. And I don't believe it's because they're lacking any motivation. I believe that the main reason is that they don't really make a New Year resolution, but rather they make some wishes. Some people may say that I want to lose weight, or I want to start my business. I want to write a book, or I don't know, get a better relationship. But the reality is that what they're saying is that they wish those things would happen somehow. And the only way to make sure that you get to your goals and you stick to them is if you have an actual plan that goes with those dreams, with that mountaintop. Because if you don't, that mountain is just an illusion. If you are serious about achieving anything, a written down detailed plan must be in place. And in my own experience, the way I was able to really hone in the second pillar of planning is to tackle it from two different sides. From a macro level, the big picture, but also from a micro level, from our daily routines and habits. And what do I mean by that? Some of us may already have ambitious desires. I can tell you that when I started on this journey, I realized that speaking is a passion, and I told myself I would like to speak in front of 10,000 people in 10 years, which sounded like a bold mountain, but doable. However, once I had that big goal, I started applying some simple math to really kind of be a little more strategic when it comes to my goal, to plan it out. And then I looked and applied math and said, well, half the time, 5 years, 5,000 people. 1 year, 1,000 people. The further you break it down, the more you're able to set specific milestones that will help you gauge to know that you are on the right path. Do you see what I'm doing? You may apply the same kind of principles in your own desires, in your own mountains. Simplify these big ambitious goals from a macro level into something that's measurable. Do that, and you will have a higher chance of achieving your goal. Now, the biggest challenge that people have when it comes to New Year resolutions or any kind of goals is that they do set, some of them do set these ambitious goals at the macro level, like, again, I go back to losing weight, starting a business, writing a book, whatever that may be. But when it comes on to the daily activities, the actual steps at the micro level, they don't build up their goals to see if they are actually realistic. For example, if you want to lose weight at the micro level, what will you do? You might want to be running 3 times a week for half an hour and be attentive to lose half a pound a week. And that's something that for most of us is achievable. May that be not running, maybe it's walking. This is why I'm saying it's important to not only break your goals from a macro level, but also at the micro level. What are you going to do in your day-to-day? Why is this important? In my example, I wanted to speak in 10 years in front of 10,000 people. And then I broke it down. 1 year would mean 1,000 people. Where I started looking at my micro level and summing up what I was doing on a daily basis, doing that bottoms up math, and I realized my goal was quite ambitious. As at the beginning, when I started on this journey, I was speaking 10 minutes a week at a Toastmaster club. And if I were to sum that up and realize where I would be in a year, I would recognize that something was missing. And don't get me wrong, you might say that, oh, Serban, why don't you speak more? I agree. If I would be able to dedicate 8 to 12 hours a day practicing speaking, I would probably meet that goal. But if you're like me, you too have some responsibilities, some bills to pay. You don't have all the time in the world. So when I started on my journey, the reality was that I wasn't able to even speak in front of 5 people, let alone 50 or 100. And I had to adjust my micro level goals to the reality. And then once I did that, I think this is where my big revelation happened, when I started looking at it from a micro level. Because in order for you to make any kind of realistic plan, your macro breakdown has to line up with your micro buildup. They have to intersect at one point. And the engineer in me will tell you that you have to do a bottoms-up analysis and a top-down analysis, and figure out if you are connecting these points or they're disconnected. And I believe this is the main reason people quit on their goals and their New Year resolutions, because their daily activities don't really connect with their big dreams. Now, along with this disconnect, there's another point that I want to make here, and I've enjoyed a quote from Bill Gates a lot in this effort, which really adds to my point. And he said that most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year at a micro level and underestimate what they can do in 10. This is at the macro level. So when you plan, make sure you assess properly what you can do in your daily routines. How much time are you allowing yourself to be able to focus on the goals that you care about? Be realistic. Because what I've noticed is that if we do that build up from the daily routines, and we are consistent with those routines, in a long enough timeline, we will be able to get to that big goal. But we have to be consistent at the micro level to reach that macro level. Your daily actions will lead you to the mountaintop. Because if you're like me, I bet you if you were to look back at your past accomplishments, you would realize that some of your greatest achievements, the things that you were proud of, they didn't happen in 3 months or 6 months. It took you a long time to get to those goals. Am I right? Think about it. We overestimate what we want to do in 1 year. We're just so ambitious that we're set these ridiculous goals at the micro level, but we don't marry them with what we want to do at the macro level in 10 years. But if you marry them and you do this math, I guarantee you that you will able to accomplish your goals. You know, I recently talked with a friend who's reached a pretty significant milestone in his age, and I asked him, what are his goals for the next 5 years? And he looked at me and said that he no longer sets those type of things, because when he was younger, he set a 5-year goal and nothing came to fruition. Now, what I am certain of is that he did not set any kind of goals. He actually made wishes. I wish I could get this. I wish I had this. I wish I would accomplish this by this time. But when it came to the things that he would have to do, making a plan and breaking it down from a macro level as well as what he would do on a daily basis, that didn't happen. He just wished that somehow, because he said that he's going to get there, somehow all those things would happen, rather than setting up what does he want to do? 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. What is it, the actions that he takes for the next day and the next week and the next month? He did not do anything to get to that mountaintop because he did not set any kind of plan in place. He just had dreams. For you to get to your goals, you must move from being a dreamer to becoming an achiever. And the way you do so, it is by making a plan. So now that we have the second pillar, which is planning, set up for ourselves, what's next? The next pillar, crucial in this process, it is progress. Where you are today versus where you want to be, there's a gap. What you've done up until this point has taken you this far. And in order for you to reach that next mountaintop, there has to be some growth happening. There has to be some progress happening. There has to be a transformation. May that be that you must learn new skills. May that be that you may perfect some of the skills that you already have that allows you to move to that next goal, or something that you must do in your day-to-day activities at the micro level that will lead you to the next mountaintop. Like I said, if you are not progressing in life, you are regressing. And you can grow in two ways. An accidental growth, where you sort of wander to your success, or it can be intentional growth. And I don't believe we can wander towards our success. It can only happen if we are intentional with what we do. We are intentional with our progress. And the biggest challenge I've experienced in my own journey when it comes to making progress is that I confuse what's progress versus what means to be busy. Because not all actions are created equal. I remember a few years back, one of my goals was to find a different job. I wanted something a little bit better than what I had because I was stagnating for so long. I figured finding a better job would give me a little bit more satisfaction. I would be growing. So I had the plan in place, which I told myself that I'm going to search for at least 3 jobs. Then I'm going to update my resume to match those 3 jobs and then apply. And each week I would find myself so busy with unintentional work, focusing on anything but my plan, but my main goal, what I wanted. I would always find myself doing so many things around what I should be doing. Either was cleaning the front yard, the backyard, cleaning the inside of the house, going to birthday parties, anything and everything, but not the main thing. I would be so busy with trivial things, but never really focusing on that big goal of mine, focusing on what was truly important to me. And it took me a long time to recognize this truth that if you have a plan, but you put your plan, your goal as a lower priority, you will never really make true progress. It is only when we have our goal and we set it at the top priority and stick to that plan that we are going to start seeing and making real progress. It was only then when I was able to really focus in and look for that job. No more yard work until true work, was done. And here, there's another quote that I like from Jim Rohn, who said a painful but very true thing, where he said that if you really want to do something, you will find a way. If you don't, you will find excuses. I had to clean the pool. Did I? Make sure that your top goal, it is your top priority. This leads me to our fourth and last pillar in this process, which is perspective, our attitude, our mindset. The first P, again, is perception, our self-awareness. The second P is planning, macro and micro planning. The third P is progress. And the last pillar in this process is perspective, many Ps. When we become intentional with the actions that we're taking and we measure our actions to make sure that we are indeed progressing, not regressing, I can tell you that at one point or another, everyone on this journey will hit a wall. It may be 2 months from now, 6 months, a year. It all depends on our personalities. But what I am sure is that it will happen. And at that point, no perception, no planning will help you get unstuck. In order for us to be able to stay focused and be able to overcome moments that are dull some days and other days that are hard, that other days where we face setbacks rather than progress, when we have those days, the proper attitude and the proper perspective will help us overcome these trying times. And I believe that many of us get very excited discovering, creating, being able to go after our goals, especially when we make plans and we see that we're taking actions and things are happening and we get rewarded. All of this is very exciting, especially at the beginning of the journey. However, the plateau will come. It is inevitably. The doubt, the fear, the wonderment, am I on the right path? Is this what I'm supposed to do? When those times come, when you need to persevere, you need to push forward. In those times, our attitude matters immensely. When it comes to reaching our next mountaintop, we must have the right attitude, the right perspective. And we must embrace the struggle. We must see the world not as against us, but for us. The world is happening for us. It's not really trying to push us down, but rather it is trying to make us stronger so that we can rise up. It's challenging us to be prepared to hike that new peak that we're looking towards. A lot of times, it's a matter of how we interpret things that are happening or have happened to us. And I like Einstein said this, that we can choose to believe that we are in a friendly or an unfriendly environment. We live in that environment. And it is our choice. Whether you think that events in your life are just happening against you, everything's against you, or they happen for you, for your growth, for your development. It is your choice. And I can tell you that for the longest time that I remember, when I was growing up, my parents would drag me continuously to the countryside to help them farm the land. And they were side by side with me, working a lot. And I thought it was pure punishment and cruelty. But today, as I look back at those times, I recognize that it instilled in me a willingness to work. And I now understand the value of work. If I can plant 3 days continuously potatoes in a blistering sun, I think working at the computer for 8 hours, it's quite easy. It's that having that proper perspective. The more you embrace the optimistic perspective rather than the pessimistic one, the more you will be able to push through that discomfort, to push through those challenges, to push through that setback that like I said, it is inevitably that it will happen when we are trying to reach a huge mountaintop. I can tell you that in my desire to speak in front of 5,000 people in 5 years or 10,000 in 10 years, I am now in year 3, and I have yet to speak in front of 1,000 people, not even 500. I've hit in my journey many plateaus. I had setback, I got stuck, and things did not go exactly as I planned. But what I can tell you is that I have consistently kept a positive attitude and looked towards progress. And every time I adopted this perspective and had a positive attitude towards my struggle, something came along. A new revelation, a new insight, someone has helped me, or help came from one place or another, and I was able to get stuck and make that tiny progress. But if you have a negative perception, a negative perspective, where you focus on the things that can go wrong, that will be something that you will attract. But if you have an attitude of gratitude and know that the struggle is necessary, you will see in due time things will happen for you. And for me, a positive perspective has kept me going. And I can tell you that today, my summit is getting closer and closer. And all of it is because I did have the right perspective. Friends, my journey started with a desire to be able to introduce myself, to be able to communicate better with people. And it all started with a pain. And as I grew more self-aware, I ended up converting that pain into a passion and into a purpose. When I began on my journey at first, unknowingly, I applied these 4 principles. And today, I intentionally do. And I have experienced a massive transformation in my life because of these 4 principles. Today, I have more self-awareness of the things that I want and I don't want. I have the plans in place for many areas of my life. And I intentionally make progress each and every day. And I really try my darnest to have the proper perspective when things don't go my way. I most of the time do. Applying these 4 principles have helped me with my passion for speaking, have helped me with my career, where I found recently a new role that I cherish and love. It helped me in my health, where I ran 4 marathons in the last 4 years, and now I'm getting ready to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. The 4 principles have helped me in all areas of my life. And I know they can help you too. I am sure of it. And I want you to just imagine being able to reach your own mountaintop. Just being able to discover and know what it is that you want to accomplish. How would that make you feel? Would you feel energized, joyful, excited to be on that journey? Where do you think you would be if you were to apply these 4 principles in 1 year, 2 years, 10 years? I've heard my mentor Tom Billio say this, that it doesn't matter who you are today. It only matters who you want to become and what you want to achieve. If you want a better future for yourself, if you are looking to celebrate your next summit, follow these 4 principles that I have described today. They are perception, self-awareness, planning, progress, and the last one is perspective. And know this, there are 2 types of people in this world. The ones who are dreamers and the ones who are achievers. Which one are you? Can you... I know you can write these 4 pillars down and they sound good in theory, but I'm telling you, information is not enough for transformation. If you are serious about your goals, if you are looking for your next mountaintop, today is the day to start. Not someday, but rather today. And the first step is always the hardest. But if you're like me, I know you too can conquer and celebrate your next summit. Go after it, my friends. Thank you.